Thank you, Chairman Scott, and also Ranking Member Fox, and thank you to Secretary Cardona for appearing here today. And I just want to say, although Secretary Cardona, you were not in place at the time that ARA was passed, I had two amendments at the time of that 14-hour markup that would allocate or appropriate $2 billion for mental health funding through K through 12 and $2 billion for mental health funding for higher education. That was voted against by every single Democrat on this committee. So I do appreciate my colleague bringing up mental health issues, but also want to remind that there were amendments that were passed to funding that has gone out the door, and yet there is still funding that has been unspent out of the ERA fundings that were appropriated to schools. We also recently heard about the student loan forgiveness. And with all the discussion about student debt forgiveness, I think it's important that we identify who in fact holds all the debt. And I will say that I'm a physician who left home at 16, starting at community college, worked myself through college, through a master's in education, and then to medical school, and was one of those individuals who did have student loan debt at 13 to 18% interest rates. But according to Federal Reserve data, nearly 60% of outstanding student loan debt is held by borrowers with graduate degrees. During negotiated rulemaking sessions, your staff repeatedly noted that including graduate students and the new income-driven repayment plan would provide benefits beyond the limited scope to which these repayment plans were designed, that is, targeting benefits to low-income borrowers. I would agree with that. And can you confirm that the department will stick by its initial proposal and exclude graduate students from new income-driven repayment plans?
So we're having conversations about that, but I want to use this moment to share that teachers, for example, have graduate degrees and are woefully undercompensated compared to peers that have similar education levels. So not all graduate folks with graduate degrees are in a position where they wouldn't benefit from income-driven repayment.
It doesn't sound like you've given me no, confirmation that you would limit those that are not within low-income borrowers. So that's not very reassuring. Furthermore, student loan forgiveness has also the effect that there is no requirement for schools to address spiraling or skyrocketing costs. I'd also like to thank my colleague, Representative Fulcher, who bringing up charter schools in our state in Iowa. We have robust educational opportunities, and our governor has made that a point. And given the increase in achievement, especially in our minority populations, I think that all of us would agree that the most important thing we do is to educate regardless of what institution. And with that, I'm going to yield the balance of my time to Representative Fox.
I thank the gentlewoman for yielding. Mr. Secretary, to stick with this issue about loans, on Operation Fresh Start, do you plan on announcing the details of the plan within the next week? And if not, when?
I don't have the information from the higher ed office when they plan on announcing, but I can have my team reach out to you within the next week to share when it's going to be sent.
Well, when we were talking about the issue earlier, your comments made me think we were talking part one, past one another. Can you provide us with the details of what Ed is planning to do? Whether you can tell us when it's going to do it, but what are you planning to do?
Sure. We recently announced, Ranking Member, the Fresh Start program to allow borrowers who are either in default or delinquent in their payments to have the benefit of a fresh start so that they can get back on and it wouldn't harm their credit score and their ability to move on financially. So we have announced that. I'm not sure if that's what you're referencing.
Yes, and as I brought up to you earlier, that is going to cause a major problem with credit, the people who put together credit scores and credit histories, and may indeed harm those people from getting loans for other things in the future. we don't believe you have the authorization to do most anything of what you're doing. And so we will continue to press you under what authorization you're doing what you're doing. And I thank the gentlelady for yielding, and Mr. Chairman, I yield back to her.